This is part 1 of my world conquest where I become a god. Now, I picked India and a conqueror because he's the only conqueror starting at the beginning of the game. Now, with that being said, let's just get straight into it. I began to try to conquer my neighbors. I didn't plan on this being a two-parter, but 40 days passed and I kept being able to play the game less and less, so unless I make this a two-parter, I'm not going to upload forever, and I want to do a Pride Month special, so I'm probably going to take a break after this video, then come back and upload again. As I was pretty easy to become an emperor. There are 3 empires in India. You need to own all of them completely to become an emperor. My plan is to unite India and then form a mandala government, which runs on faith instead of money. And they have tributaries instead of direct holdings. Well, you can't have direct holdings once you reach a certain level. And once you level all the way up, you are seen as godlike. So yeah, we want to become godlike. So we just continued to conquer, trying to get all of our empire before we can expand more. Our religion doesn't have warmonger on it, so we can't do kingdom wars. I'm forced doing like duchy wars at most. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is, and at least it lets me carve up this place. Like, yeah, I wish I could just go to war to take the whole kingdom, but I have to take little duchies and try again, then take little duchies and try again, then take little duchies. It's just a whole thing. And right now, our units aren't that good. Like, I want to use elephants eventually, but I can't really do that. Eventually, though, we were able to form our own faith, which I wanted to add warmongers so we can conquer as many people as possible, and human sacrifice so we can have unlimited holy points. And then I formed an empire and added industrious to my culture, so now I can build windmills, which are overpowered. Very, very, very overpowered. Which is amazing. Because when you build windmills, you become way more advanced, way faster. And the more advanced you are, the easier it is to discover things faster. The more you can discover things faster, the more your cities become advanced, and the better your army gets. And it's just this whole cycle. So yeah, eventually though, my character died, but luckily the conqueror trait passes on, as now it's time for me to try to conquer the rest of India. I formed an empire, expanded my realm, but it's not enough. I then start mass execution to get more faith, so I can declare more wars, which is pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Sadly, most of the faiths around me are Hindu and Buddhist, so we kind of like are similar, so I can't go holy wars for kingdoms and stuff, which kind of sucks, but hey, it is what it is. Luckily, there's some Muslims I can attack. This is a video game. I'm saying that in the reference of this video game. I do not mean that in real life. Please do not come after me. Please do not attack me. That is just what I'm saying about this video game. Countries unite against me, but I'm able to take them on one-on-one, and the AI is kind of stupid anyway, and I have the Conqueror trait, so it makes things really easy, because the Conqueror trait makes armies super cheap, and makes it so sometimes random soldiers will join you, so just conquering all these little guys is kind of hard, because I have to declare war on one at a time, but besides that, it's easy. By the way, the Byzantines are also a conqueror, so that's cool. I then formed a hybrid culture, so I can just focus on developing one county, so I can develop even faster. I then died, and now my new son is in charge. Sadly, my faith only makes it so males can take over, but my plan is to change that with the culture on the next episode, because, come on now, girl power. I then got declared war on, but I was able to defend the island and give them a good old spanking. As the allies tried to unite against me, they couldn't do it, and I managed to push them off. After that, I was finally able to go for a kingdom level war. I mean, it's only because I lost the empire because, you know, when I died, it split apart between my children. So yeah, sometimes your empire splits between your children, which will happen until I unite all of India. So I have to kind of do this on a timer, otherwise I just keep splitting over and over again, and that's not really fun. But the fun part is, now I'm fighting someone of a hostile faith, so I can fully conquer them. And some people are actually wanting to become my vassals, which is kind of nice. The less people I have to kill, the better. I know my whole faith's name is literally kill, but, you know, it is what it is. As me and my forces just easily crush these weaklings, I end up getting some good events too, because like I said, I am a conqueror, and I am very, very OP. I then managed to get by the sword, which mandala governments don't really need, because they can just make people tributaries. So that's the only government where that's not useful. and that's the government I'm going to be. Which, if you don't know why the sword is, you can declare infinite level, kingdom level holy wars, because usually you can only declare war for a kingdom on a holy war casus belli once in a lifetime, but it lets you do it infinite amount of times. But yeah. And eventually I decided to become a Mandala government after uniting India. And I had to release all my vassals as tributaries, which sucked, but hey, it is what it is. Basically, the first level of the government, everyone under you has to be a tributary, where they're independent, but they pay you money. Eventually, you can own them directly, but you can only own a certain amount. It's complicated, but the more your holy points go up and the more divine you are, the better the tributaries get. So you start off pretty weak, but you are very overpowered later on. And I want to unite all of India first so I can get the hegemony title, because doing this as a Mandala government, I don't know, because I've never actually played as Mandala. This is my first time ever playing as a Mandala government. And what I do is I take on other Mandala governments by burning their temple. Because I'm the only Mandala government that can survive, me, I then decide to push into the Middle East, where the Abbasids are actually looking quite strong this time. Usually they die early on, but I think they got to conquer. And I picked the money tree. Now, I was going to do the conquer tree, but you have to win so many battles, and it's so hard. It's just easier to build stuff. And money funds everything, so getting more money is not a bad idea anyway. As then I continue to build up my city to try to make it a paradise. Also, I don't know why people hate playing in Asia. Playing in Asia is actually my favorite place to play right now, except for forming the Chinese government. Controversial opinion, but I hate the Chinese government system, the mandate of heaven. It's just too hard for me to maintain. People are like, it's so easy in the comments. It's so easy. It's so easy. How come I can never do it? Like, literally, I cannot get enough prestige and legitimacy to maintain it. Anyway, I went to war with the Abbasids for the Kingdom of Persia. The Abbasids were huge and another conqueror, but I managed to call in all my allies, which I can do as a Mandala government. The most powerful trait is you can call in your tributaries as allies. So even though you have a weaker army on paper, in actuality, your army is just stacked if anyone wants to invade you. But it costs holy points to call them in for any wars you declare. But if you get declared war on you, it's easy. As now I try to defend Persia because I put a child in charge. Probably not my smartest idea, but hey, it is what it is. All the citizens there wanted to rebel to form Persia back to the old religion, but I said, heck no, you all are Hindu now, so I called in my armies to go and repress the rebellion. Yeah, I'm kind of like an evil tyrant. Aren't we all in every CK3 game, though? Let's be real. Anyway, I was able to capture the enemy leader and force them to surrender. After that, I made moves in Central Asia to push forward. China was sadly united, so I was scared to fight them. I should have declared war to make them a tributary, but it would have been impossible to keep them since their hegemony. But maybe it could have been possible. My plan, though, was just to have them separate, then conquer all the land and make it so they can never unite again. That way I don't have to deal with the Empire of China. Also, somehow my tributaries expanded deeper into Central Persia. They would lose that later. My tributaries would expand like crazy, then lose. Like, I don't really know what's going on here. I then made a great play to go and conquer some Chinese warlords. Since China split apart, it was my time to strike. Time to expand into Central China, because if China unites, there's other hegemony, and there can only be one hegemony on my watch, so my plan is to conquer them all directly, or to simply make them into tributaries. I then formed a hybrid culture, and got the elephant perk, which made elephants cheaper, and I can build buildings to train them and make them stronger. Now it's time to replace my entire armies with herds of elephants, so I can elephant storm them all. And then I got the last level of the money tree, which each Mandala government has a different tree you can follow. One tree's for war, one tree's for money, one tree's for intrigue, like sneak and stuff like that, and etc. And I chose the money one because, well, now I can fund a giant army full of pure elephants. Just hordes and hordes of elephants. I don't know how we have this many. We must have a mass elephant breeding program. We're using elephants to conquer China right now. Imagine living as a Chinese civilization. Your empire collapses, you're all fighting to unite, and then suddenly a bunch of elephants come out of nowhere and just trample your town down. Probably not that fun. And the only reason I'm really doing this is to stop the hegemony forming, because if they form, they're a rival. Sadly, though, I got sick and died of a disease, as in my heir got sick. I was hoping he wouldn't die. I even did some wars with him, but, spoiler alert, You see how my character's not sick anymore? He died off screen. He only lived for like 3 months. I couldn't even record it. Yeah, he did not live that long. I was also spreading my religion as far as possible so I get more holy orders and things like that. Holy orders are men that fight for you if you pay them with holy points instead of money. I even got an achievement, which is pretty nice, for having like over 60 tributaries, which is pretty cool. I didn't know you get an achievement out of that. A lot of times in this game, when you get achievements, it's by accident. I tried to get achievement on purpose once, failed, but I got like 60 other achievements, which is honestly not that bad. I then started to expand to the Middle East because historically the Muslims invaded northern India. So we're going to stop that from happening by invading the Middle East. You see, if someone tries to attack you, if you attack them first, nothing bad can happen. So kids, if someone is going to attack you, kick them in the nuts. Don't actually do that. Please tell an adult or be safe. Violence is only a last resort. Anyway, I continued to clean up the warlords, and then the Muslims declared a jihad, which is basically their version of a crusade, a jihad for Arabia. Now, every crusade or jihad, they have a rally point where the enemies rally up into one point, and then they all march down and attack you together. The best strategy is to send your armies to that point and attack the armies one by one before they can all gather up. If they all gathered up, they can easily defeat me. But if I could take their armies one by one before they all get together, since they're from so many different nations and they all gather at different times, I can win. So that's exactly what I do. As I felt like 300, because I was just fighting waves and waves and waves of armies. Every time I beat one army, I charged to another army. I just couldn't let them bunch together. And I just fought so many of them until eventually what's left of them all bunched together. It was a massive battle in the desert, as me and my elephant soldiers all fought together. But luckily, my quality of soldiers were high, so we were able to beat the levies, which are basically mostly like peasants with swords. Basically, it was just hundreds of thousands of peasants with swords versus thousands of heavily trained elephants. And the elephants won. After that, I did another holy war, just to spite. But this time it was a bit different. I went to war to execute their leader, which is who called the jihad on me. You call a jihad on me, I go in and cut off your head. Sounds fair to me. I then declared war for a duchy on Japan, because Japan has a bunch of samurai and they're OP. But they're dealing with civil war and their army didn't even show up, so it was pretty easy. I was also building up my capital and trying to make it the most advanced place in the world. As then I expanded a bit into northern Africa. Since my holiness is up, I'm able to take land directly, but I can't hold a super amount about it. Basically, if I was a normal government, I'd be able to control most of the world by now, but I can just control a few kingdoms and places like that. I can still get a lot of land directly, but most of it has to be tributaries. But, you know, it is what it is. I then declared a holy war for a kingdom against the Byzantines, completely destroyed them. And then I declared a war for a kingdom of Japan. I probably would have been able to conquer the world right now if I knew a secret. If you declare a tributary war and your leader dies, you can keep them as a tributary. In every other government, you can't do that. And I didn't know that, so I would have been declaring tributary wars on everyone if I knew that by now. I definitely would have been able to take over the world in this video. But because I didn't do that, I was kind of playing dumb, doing for duchies and kingdoms, instead of just taking it all over. I then declared war on the Pope himself to give the Pope a good old spanking, as me and my army marched to the Vatican to wipe him out and conquer him. As I did, the Pope was no more. I mean, he can still call a crusade on me because he's still alive, but all of his land is gone, and that's the important part. I then went to another war against the Byzantines, conquering more of their land. I should have declared a tributary war, but I didn't understand that. As then, I expanded deeper into Indonesia and the Philippines, conquering more of their land down there. Basically, my conquerors just went across the world, conquering land after land. I felt unstoppable, invincible even. Because, here's a secret, I am invincible. The people down here were also Mandala, so when I declared war upon them, I could steal their tributaries. Eventually, though, I died, and now a new son took over. I also was invested in the lifestyle tree, which basically makes it so you can live longer, your characters live long, because the only thing that really stops me from achieving things is my characters dying and me losing points and stuff like that. So I'm just basically trying to keep my leaders as long as possible. That's the only thing that bothers me, are the lives of my leaders. I then got a war goal to take over all of Korea, so I took it. If you have a war goal to take over Korea, you always take it. That's 1930s Japan for you. Don't ask about the war crimes in China. As then I expanded deeper, taking over more land in Korea, turned them into tributaries. I then learned the tributary trick, and I traded on the Byzantines, which I was able to succeed. I sieged Constantinople, which should have been hard, but since my technology was literally like 3 times ahead of the Greeks, and I had an army of elephants and giant rocks, I actually sieged the city pretty easily. I feel like you shouldn't be able to do that. I then went toward the Holy Roman Empire, which was a mistake. Since I made them convert to my religion, they literally fell apart almost instantly. The Holy Roman Empire united almost all of Europe under Christianity, and as soon as they convert, all the kingdoms declared independence, which makes sense. I then made these Jewish guys my tributary, but then they tributized my tributary. So a guy stole my tributary, so then I turned him into a tributary. So he's a tributary, and the Byzantines are a tributary of my tributary. It's a complex situation, but honestly, who really cares? Let's be honest here. I then continue expanding further into the Middle East because these guys were starting to conquer my tributaries, which I didn't like, so I made them my tributary. Jeez, I said tributary like 100 times. By the way, my leader died, and now I'm a dwarf. That's cool. I mean, size ain't everything, so to prove that, I decided to go and tributize a kingdom in Europe. God, I need to stop saying tributary and tributize. I have said that way too many damn times. Anyway, this video is going pretty well, and I managed to expand pretty far and wide, but I think I'm gonna leave it here. I mean, I just said turn to tributary, turn to tributary, turn to tributary, basically like 5,000 times, so you get the gist of it. The war right here was a bit long, but it only became long because the bigger your troops are, the more it takes for them to gather. That's the only problem with these wars. So as soon as my troops gathered up, it was pretty easy because my army straight up sieged cities in minutes. Usually it takes months, but now they siege really easily. Like super easily, which is pretty good. I also left this in because I hit record on accident and I was not meant to record this, but I decided to be like, screw it, and use this as an outro because, well, why not? I also had kind of a lover scandal where I had 2 people that I lusted for, and I had to pick one or the other, which I actually never got in CK3. I don't know if that's rare or what, but that's the first time I got that event, so, you know, that's cool. I then pushed down the mission tree and conquered the Kingdom of Italy using a holy war to conquer them directly. And yeah, this is my land. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. In the next video, I will conquer the world. Right now, I already control pretty much all of Central Asia, and I'm going for Europe. And once I do, I will expand further. Hope you all enjoyed.